on my Facebook page.
Cool.
You should see both of us. And if that's the case, then we're ready to go. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's enjoying your coffee wherever you're at and having a good, wonderful morning. While I stall a little bit to see if this is working. If I wouldn't say anything, you might not know that I was stalling, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll give myself that. We're here with Matt Urbanek, a dear friend of mine, an incredible musician, originally from Texas, but you moved to Atlanta, and now you're doing music here. You're one of the most prolific songwriters I know. I got to say, you just wrote a new song, "Infinite Wisdom," and I was wondering, how long have you been writing songs?
Well, like in this capacity, I don't know, probably about 10, 12 years. But I've been writing music for, when I first started out, it was with a friend of mine in junior high school when we met when we were 10 and 11. Mm-hmm. He played guitar, I played drums. We made us a little band, and we started writing songs then.
Really?
And I started playing guitar back then as well. And so I started writing a lot of the music to our songs. So for many years, since, high school through on college, actually all the way through here in Atlanta for a while, before he moved away and we kind of went our separate ways. Uh-huh. I was writing music to the songs. He would write the lyrics and the melody, and I would write the music.
Really?
And so,
You're like the Elton John of the situation.
Yeah, so I've been writing songs for a long time in that capacity, but then after we went our separate ways, I was like, well, I have to, I guess, see if I can do this myself.
So is that what forced you into writing lyrics?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Did you dabble into writing lyrics before you guys separated ways?
Actually, the way I looked at it, I was, especially when I was younger, I had a very, I still kind of think very separately, but I looked at it as, look, I'm good at the music stuff. I'm a good drummer. Let's just leave it at that. That guy's a really good lyricist. He's a great melody writer. That's our partnership. That's how it works. I didn't question it, and I just went on about my business. I wasn't interested, actually, and because I was like, why would I want to write a mediocre song when he can write a really good one? And that's just how I looked at it. I didn't really didn't see myself, but then when I was forced to, when I had no choice, when he was gone, I found that I like the songs I write, and I still write it in the same way. I write the music first.
Really? You always write the music first, and then you fill in the lyrics after the fact?
Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. I just released that song, but I'm already working on another one that I've got the music already done to, and now I'm writing melody and lyrics.
So what amount of time do you write the melody and then wait how long do you wait?
Yeah, I'll write the melody first. So I'll start, I'll write this music, and I'll even set it up as a song. I mean, it's already like the thing I've got going on right now was already set up like this.
What are you using to set up your songs?
Pro Tools.
Pro Tools. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've already got the melody complete in there with like a verse and a chorus with changes for that?
Yeah. All of it is all done musically first, even without an idea for a melody. I put a verse and a chorus. If this song, I want a bridge, I'll put a bridge in it.
Really?
I call myself an organic songwriter, in that I let the song kind of dictate what it needs. Sometimes I'll listen to something because a lot of my songs are two parts. That's just, I guess, the influence from The Cure is one of the big reasons why that is some of a lot of my style, where I'll have a song that either has two parts or only one, but how it's approached is that even though it's all one part, there's still a verse and a chorus.
When you say two parts, what do you mean, like a verses and choruses kind of thing?
Yeah, like just as far as there's one part that I would call a verse, and then there's another. It's just a two-part song, I call it. It's not really that complex.
If you have a bridge in a song, would you consider that like a three-part song, or do you consider that? Okay, yeah. Interesting. So what's a one-part song? Is that just how?
That's where the bass line never changes. It's what I'm singing, how the melody is sung. That's what changes. And The Cure did it a lot, to where the bass line is the same throughout the whole song, but there is a buildup in a verse and a chorus,
Hmm.
and how he's, his melody changes, so you can tell the difference, but the bass line never changes.
Interesting.
It's always
Do you have
it's the same
to
pattern
worry?
too, and I love that.
Are you ever
Well, no.
concerned about it being too monotonous if there's not enough like a change up? Like, are
No,
you saying that?
because that's what I like.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's just what I like. And yes, I've had, a lot of the criticism I've had is because it is very formulaic and sometimes repetitive. But you also have to keep in mind that I guess I'm a big fan of pop music. I like
I'm going to
pop
say
music.
that's
I
a
grew up,
pop music formula,
you
and
know, I
I don't understand why anybody would knock you for writing
well,
popular
like
music.
MTV was a huge influence because I call my age group the MTV era because
Right,
I was like 10 years old when MTV debuted. And
right.
I had nothing else better to do as a 10-year-old all the way through like 14 or 15, but to sit there and watch a lot of MTV.
Yeah, and
And
when MTV first came out, it was videos nonstop. It was like
yes,
the day to dawn, all music videos. Yeah.
but it exposed me to music that I wasn't listening to on my own. The stuff I
Hmm.
was going to for those young folks out there used to be things called a record store, and you would go and buy records at them. And
LPs.
yes, or CDs, cassettes when I was a kid, and then
CDs came in boxes
say
like this big.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely they did. But but you used to have to go buy them, and you would have to buy the whole record. You couldn't buy this one song shit. I mean, you had to buy the whole record. And
Do you
so,
do you think popular music changed to where people don't like the albums seem like they're not as good as they used to? Like in the 70s, the whole album was great. But in the 80s, it was like those 2 or 3 singles were really good, and the rest of it felt like filler material sometimes. I don't know. Maybe I'm the
well,
only one that
see,
thinks that way. What
no,
do you
you're
think about that?
well. I'm going to answer this in two ways. I'm going to answer this from both sides. One side of me says we're the old people now, and we're going, I don't understand the music of the kids these days. And you know what? Your father's age, when your father was young, the
Yeah,
people were his father was going, I don't understand your music,
I
son.
don't get it.
People again. It's so. Are we talking about that, or in which you are correct though? I'm not just saying this as a get off my lawn, old man. I'm
Hmm.
saying this is the downside of capitalism to me. Capitalism distorts everything it touches after a period of time. Once it becomes, once the quality is no longer a measure or anything of importance, and it's all about how quantity. That's why that's why the music industry drives things into the ground to where at this point everything is so sterilized, I guess is a good way to call it, is that it's all the same damn song over and over and over and over again. Because once something hits, they just flood the market with it until it strangles it to death. And that's what capitalism does. It's just because it can't stop wanting to grow. Whereas, we had something really cool back in the 70s and 80s where people made real records,
Hmm.
and you did. It was actually a treat to go to the record store every couple of weeks or whatever when you had some money to buy a new record, and you had to be selective. And sometimes you won, sometimes you lost, but but that was, I remember that was exciting. I discovered a lot of new music, that
Hmm.
way. Actually, I ended up working at that record store,
Really?
when I was like 16. Once I got a driver's license, I ended up working at that record store.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
and that also opened my eyes to a lot of things. So you know I'm a pop music guy because I'm in the 80s is pop music, or
It
it is to
is.
me.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much yeah. Who are your favorite bands?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of the, look, I was at the time, I loved Motley Crue and Rat, and that was the stuff I would spend my money on.
Okay.
I was exposed to Rush at a young age,
Hmm.
uh, and that was my nerdy side. So like, when you were young, you had these,
I
you
imagine
know,
being a drummer, that was a huge influence, right? The drums were your first instrument, correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes. But oddly enough, even back then, I was more interested in their songs and their songwriting.
Hmm.
Like my first exposure to Rush was Extra Stage Left.
Okay.
Somebody I was like either my cousins or one of my cousins' friends that was a musician back in the day that gave me that cassette or let me borrow it, and I wore it out. I mean,
Hmm.
it was from start to finish. I love that thing. I was, and there's a lot of great music in there that influenced me, but it was really mainly the music. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a great drummer, and yes, he was a huge influence.
Hmm.
But Rush as a whole was a larger influence than just he.
Okay.
I like them as what they did and what they stood for, and again, overall, not just their musicianship, but at the end of the day, their songwriting. I mean, it was really good, especially in their heyday.
Yeah. As someone that's been in bands, do you like what do you think is an ideal number of people in a band? Is Rush the right?
Well, yeah. Well, oddly enough, I've always ended up going back to a trio because it's
Yeah.
easier. It's easier to control. But no, I mean, don't get me wrong. Having the more, the better. I mean, because the more sound you can throw at people, the better you can make things. But you
Hmm.
just, you need to have people that are on the same wavelength as you, and But that's what's so cool about our circles that we run in. These open mic and singer songwriter things. There's a lot of great musicians out here, man.
It really
And
is. Yeah, Atlanta is amazing. All the different talent. It's amazing all the talent we got together. So I got to work with Matt recently. My father, name's Jim Von Stein, songwriter, and he did a song called "Faraway Angel," and Matt played drums on that. We got a good friend Barrett. He's an incredible guitar player, incredible person. He put together a track from his home stone studio. We were lucky enough to get Matt on there, and then we also had another guy, Mark T. Williams, who plays violin. He's unbelievable. He's an incredible violin player, and everybody came together. And I was the weakest link on this thing, but I know everybody. But yeah, if you check out Faraway Angel, you can hear Matt's work on that. You check that on like iTunes and Spotify. Now you have a lot of your music primarily what Reverb Nation, is that like the go-to spot for you?
Reverb Nation and SoundCloud.
And
Um,
SoundCloud?
they're both either one of those sites / Matt Urbanek on
Okay.
both of them. Yeah.
And
Um,
how often do you put? I mean, it seems like you're putting songs every week up on.
well, I mean,
You.
I have I go through waves, and especially
Yeah.
this pandemic and being home a lot, this ends up being, but I'll go through spots where I just don't feel like writing, and I don't.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I just want to. A lot of my songs are actually exercises. That's my practice. I don't really sit down and rehearse drums anymore.
Mm.
I do play guitar a lot. I do like to try to become a better guitar player, even though I still refuse to sit down and learn the, like theory, which I
Oh
should,
yeah.
but I love to play guitar solo. So I'll just put on some music and just solo over it for,
For
an
your
hour or
track,
two.
for the tracks you release, is that you playing all the instruments and all the
Yeah,
different tracks?
that's everything. Yeah.
Man, that's unbelievable that you have that kind of talent
Well,
to
thanks,
do
man.
that. Is there
Well,
something you want to play? Do you want to play a song for us?
I mean, I can, but we can keep talking for a little bit if you want.
Sure. Yeah.
Let me wake up a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No problem.
But yeah, you know, uh, this is actually my studio down here, and so that's what I'll do. I'll want to do like that'll be like a practice. I mean, so I'll come down here and just come up with something, or if something inspired me, I'll start to work on that and put it together. And
Hmm.
sometimes it ends up being a really good song. So I'll just write them anyway. I mean, because some of the ones I don't like, people like the most.
That's the way it
So
goes, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
So
how
I
many
just
instruments do you play?
well, I mean, I would just really mainly say guitar, bass, and drums.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've got some keyboard stuff to where I don't know what I'm doing, but I can, just being a musician itself, I can find a chord
Yeah.
or something that sounds cool, and I've done that, I've got some electronic songs that I've got on both SoundCloud and Reverb Nation that I did a few years ago just as an experiment,
Do you
just
find
for
it's Is it easier for you to pick up instruments because you play so many different instruments?
Yeah, yeah, that's why. I mean, look, I mean, there's no doubt that I think I have a pretty good variety in my songwriting, but
Hmm.
make no mistake, it still has a very 90s, you know, rock feel.
Hmm.
And because I do a lot of instruments and actually, you know, and I have my habits. I love dual guitars. And so, you know, my filler is always going to be guitars
Okay.
because just where, you know, I'm old school that way, and that's where it comes from. It's rock.
Yeah.
And so, and I love doing them in a dual sense because not only a lot of the music I grew up listening to had it, but
Uh-huh.
you know, also my bigger influences as musicians. You know, I was very lucky where you know my parents, especially my mom, was always involved in music and country music
Really?
specifically.
What did she do?
Well, country music, you know, was such a grassroots small market thing for so long, like,
Hmm.
you know, through the, you know, when it started, but all the way through the 50s and 60s and 70s, 80s, you know, it didn't start getting really popular mainstream until the 90s when you
Hmm.
had crossovers like, you know, early crossovers like Garth Brooks and people like that who
Yeah, he was
truly,
huge. Yeah.
well, but he brought that style of music to the mainstream. Like it was a
Hmm.
crossover to rock stations or pop stations.
Yeah.
And so, so in the early days, if you didn't have a fan club in country music, you weren't gonna make it. You needed a fan club that was like a grassroots, you know. I mean, this is not the correct verbiage, but a door to door type of thing. But I mean,
Hmm.
you did a lot of mail because you had people all over the country that were fans, and you tried to continue to build that, you know, fan base, you know,
Right.
from a really a grassroots kind of direction. So my mother did that.
Oh,
She
wow.
started that in, I mean, because she was just, well, I mean, again, back then it was so small market that
Hmm.
even the biggest of country music stars were playing these small venues and
Wow.
were approachable. I mean, so when they were done playing, I mean, again, it was just a bar, you know, they were
Hmm.
playing in. I mean, like Gillies. Gillies was a big place where it's a place in Houston. It's a famous, you know, it was in a
I've heard of
movie.
that. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was an Urban Cowboy. It was the one of the
Oh, that's the place.
yeah, that's
Okay.
the display. So, but it hosted, you know, many, many country stars, big time country stars. But
Yeah.
it was just a bar.
Yeah.
That's all it was. and and so you would get, you could wait around, and usually those people would come out and either sign autographs, and you know, so my
Wow.
mom would you know got to know a lot of these country music people, and she
Okay.
got
She
into
worked at
she got
Gillies? Did she work? She worked
No,
at
no,
that?
no, no. She just was just a fan and would go. Actually, we
Oh,
would all
okay.
go because back
Okay.
then you could take your children into a place like that as long as they were with their parents.
That's true.
And
Yeah. They
so,
didn't.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I can, far back as I can remember, 6, 7, 8 years old, I'm in a honky tonk, smoke filled bar,
No
watching
kidding.
country music people with my mom and dad and two sisters.
So did you get to meet the performers?
Yeah,
No kidding. Wow. So that must have been a huge.
especially after she got to know them. She got
Yeah.
to know them, and to where I mean, they were like family friends. And so people like Mo Bandy, who's an old time country singer, Joe Stampley, Gene Watson, all these old time. My mom knew these
Gene
people
Martin.
personally,
No kidding.
and
Wow.
so did I. You know, and so she got a name for herself. You know, in fan clubs, she actually kind of got a reputation to where because you've probably heard of it. It used to be called fanfare. It was a thing that happened yearly in Nashville, and it was
Okay.
basically it's basically a convention of those fan clubs
Oh, okay.
for country music, and it's held in Nashville, and it
Makes
has
sense.
been
Nashville.
since the '70s.
Okay.
And so that used to be our summer vacation because my mom would work this thing,
Ah, okay.
depending on what fan club she was either head of or in, and
Hmm.
we would drive to Nashville every year and stay there for that week
Wow.
at this fanfare thing. Now it's called it's a big festival thing now, and it still happens the same time of year, But now it's
Okay.
just a showcase now for all the big labels for their new artists.
Okay.
But so it's not the same thing anymore, and it's not even called the same thing anymore. But it used to be called Fanfare. We used to go, and so my mom got a reputation of being good at this.
Mm-hmm.
And this artist, his name was Gary Morris. He was the guy. He was the first guy to record "Wind Beneath My Wings," or at least make it a #1 single.
Okay.
That song. That was one of his claims to fame. But she met him in the beginning of his career, like 1981.
Okay.
And he approached her and said, "Hey, I want you to be the president of my fan club," and she agreed.
Wow.
And then by 1995, that guy was a very, he was one of the top Nashville artists, in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
And but when I met him, I was 10 years old. And
Wow.
he told me, if I'm still doing this, when you're 14, I'll take you out on the road with me.
Okay.
Okay. So I turned 14 in 1985. He was reaching his peak of his career.
Okay.
And I reminded him of that. He's like, "Okay, well, I told you I would." So my summer job from the age of 14 all the way through college was I was on the road with a bunch of dope smoking musicians, traveling around in a tour bus, traveling around. And again, I wasn't smoking weed or anything, but it was just I was just on the road without any parents.
Really?
I was the drum tech. I was a drum tech, and then I sold concessions.
Okay.
And we did this, and that was as busy. I mean, we were doing 20 shows a month, and so in the summer, so in the summer I would work, 60, 70 shows, and then go back home and go to school.
Is this all across the states, or were you going? Like, international?
I went everywhere, dude. I've been everywhere.
Really?
I've been in Canada. Dude, it was awesome. I was just traveling.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was a very cool experience.
Did you ever get to drum with them or play any instruments, with them?
Well, I mean, not like in a show, but I mean, I jammed many a sound check. It was fun. I mean, those guys. So, so that band of his,
Mm-hmm.
Those what I would say are my truest, largest influence.
Okay.
That's where I learned most about being a musician. That's where I.
You're learning beyond music at that point. You're learning the road.
Well, there's a part of me that I certainly regret not learning theory and learning how to read music, but there's a part of me that also look. If I would have just stuck with drums and focused on it, I could probably be a good drummer. But I'm a good drummer. I'm just a straightforward rock drummer, though, because I didn't really expand past that. I started playing guitar and I started writing songs. So, I'm a jack of all trades, but master of none. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Welcome to the club.
but those guys influenced me to do that. To not just limit myself to just playing drums, but to expand and not be afraid to sing. Because I all growing up, I never thought I was going to sing. But as soon as I got in that band with the guy I was writing music for, I would sing harmonies. And so that's why I'm pretty good at finding harmonies, just because I've done it for so long.
Yeah.
And that's another staple of my songs. As you hear, when I record them, I do a lot of harmonies in there, just because I like the way they sound, and it's kind of old school. It's kind of,
yeah, you don't really hear it as much. So it's more like the Eagles, like in the 70s, a lot of.
Exactly. Well, this band, again, and these guys, to me, were the best. Well, they were definitely the best band out there on the road in country music back then. And actually, it's not just me saying it. If you were out there, I remember, because, I mean, look, I took advantage of that to, as a 14-year-old, most 14-year-olds might go nuts without having parental, supervision. I mean, God, these guys were all adults. Yeah. But the last thing I wanted to do was make them have to adult me. So
that makes sense.
I took it very seriously, and I didn't go nuts. I was very responsible, and I went and worked my ass off and made sure that those guys didn't have to worry about me.
Smart.
That they didn't have to. Yeah. So that's why they asked me back. I mean, I didn't. They all asked. Because I was cheap labor, dude. I mean,
I can imagine. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they didn't have to pay me that much ultimately.
Yeah. And you're thorough and you do a good job. So I mean,
I was happy as a clam to be doing it, dude. It was awesome.
That's a great way to experience starting music, I can imagine. I mean,
it was so much. Yeah, it was so much fun, and I learned so much. And really, these guys were top-notch musicians, and I still know them to this day. They're still my idols to this day.
That's cool.
And they're all still involved in. They're all actually one of the guitar players. His name is Gary Hooker. He's been playing for Brad Paisley for the past 22, 23, 4 years. So ever since Brad Paisley's been going, he's been his guitar player. Yeah. So he still does that. Another guitar player, his name is Jamie Brantley. He's the music director and plays guitar for an old-timey country guy named Ronnie Millsap. If you remember who Ronnie Millsap is that? Yeah.
Ronnie, yeah. It's one of the cassette tapes we used to wear out when I was a kid.
He's been working for him for the past almost 30 years. As Gary, once Gary was kind of done in the 90s, that's where he went. He started playing guitar for Ronnie Millsap, and then ended up he's the road manager / band director / guitar player. He kind of runs the whole thing for Ronnie. So, he still does that. And the drummer they had was a huge influence on me. I mean, unfortunately, he doesn't really keep up with the rest of the music guys. Therefore, I saw him not too long ago at a funeral for the actual leader of all this. The bass player of the band was a man who was truly a multi-musician, top-notch kind of, theory, just a true musician's musician. And he was the biggest influence on me. He's the one who, they listened to as well. He was that kind of musician to where all those guys, as good as they were, looked up to him as well. So he was like a hero to me. And he died last year.
Sorry about his passing.
Yeah. But I got to see all those guys again at his funeral. So it was like a really nice, unfortunate reunion. But it was nice to see them all.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, because here I am now 50 years old, and a lot of those guys haven't seen me since I was, 15, 16, 17 years old, 18.
Wow.
So yeah. So it was cool to relive a lot of old times, and because it was a huge influence on me. I mean, those guys don't really understand how much. Well, like I told them, it's like, you did this to me. You ruined my life. I can't grow up. I just want to do this from now. Because I mean, I loved every second of that, man. I loved being out there on the road.
Well, I can imagine you got music in you. I mean, there's a reason why you pump out so much music. It's a gift you have, and you definitely run with it.
Well, my biggest fan and my biggest always support has been my mom. She's always supported me in this, and she's always encouraged me in this. To play and to follow my dream. I mean, so that's kind of how I've always. That's why I always say I can't grow up, because I refuse to. I refuse to grow up. To my detriment, because now I'm getting to be an old man, and I'm running out of options to be an entrepreneur and make $1 million. But I don't really care about any of that. I just want to play music, and I would love to be able to make a living at it. And that was one of the things that's always upset me about how our society looks at music, is that there's one common theme throughout every culture on this planet. So as a society globally, there is only one thing that is common, and that's music. But that's the one thing, especially in this country, that people look at as not a real job. And it's like, well, wait a minute. It's the one thing that we all consume.
Yeah.
Not everybody consumes baseball. Not everybody consumes football. Not everybody consumes, I mean, a variety of different things,
Yeah.
but music is one art form that everyone
Yeah. It brings us
consumes.
all together. Definitely.
And it
Yeah.
does. And
Yeah.
I can't believe that it's not looked at as more of a, you know, because it is a need.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's, again, like we do a lot of things, it's by tradition. You know, um, we've forced ourselves to believe that if you don't have a real job, then you're not really working. And it's like, no, that's not actually how it is.
Hmm.
At least not to me. But I think that our society has convinced us of a lot of things, and it's just by tradition, just because that's what was expected of us. That's what that's how we think. But what were we put on this planet to do? What were humans? What were humans put on this planet to do? Were they put on this planet to work? Were they put on this planet to work for somebody else to make them $1 million?
Yeah.
And just I mean, what were we actually put on this earth to do?
Well, I think you definitely, I mean, you have a gift, and I think anybody that does, entertainment has a gift, and, maybe they just try it more, maybe, possibly. Maybe we all have a gift, and it's just, I mean, it's hard to play music in front of people. You know how that goes. It's tough to get your
Well,
confidence to a point. So you have to have that too. You have to be able to be willing to expose yourself.
absolutely. I mean, actually, I say that all the time. That when we're out there, look, there's a lot of great musicians out there, and a lot of good songwriters, a lot of good, a lot of good vocalists that we have in this town that go to these things just because they like to. Because it's a muscle you have to keep flexing.
It's true. Yeah.
If you don't get up in front of people a bunch, the next time you do, it's not going to go as well as you thought.
I think after this pandemic, it's going to be a humbling experience
Yes,
yeah, it's
because
going
I
to be,
haven't done anything except in front of a screen like this,
yeah,
knowing that some people are watching, but for the most part, not really, because there's nobody in this room with me. I'm alone,
right.
and
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing than when you're in front of people and exposed. And so I've been at many open mic though, where you have people that are very inexperienced,
Mm-hmm.
and but they get up there anyway. And
Yeah.
I've heard people, and especially musicians, sometimes comment, around the room about, this is why, I mean, this hurts the bar because again, these people are here to listen to somebody, and if you're not very good, and it's like, well, I have to disagree with that because man, it takes a lot of balls to get up there.
It
It
sure
takes
does.
a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to put yourself out in front of people.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes the act of putting yourself in front of people is what throws you off.
It can if you got it, if you're in your head too much, if you're thinking about that and not thinking about that. I think that you start off and you play music, and then eventually you get to play with music, and you get to the point where you're not thinking about like all of the things that are happening, your nerves and all that. And you're just thinking about the chords and the song and all that. And then when you get to that point, then you're really like working with something. Then you're like, hopefully at that point you're starting to touch people, and people aren't seeing it as like, it's not good for the bar or something like that,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what, I learned out here is that, again, that act alone, is, it makes me applaud harder for them because it's like, this is I mean, again, that's a form of therapy for people. I mean, it's a form of therapy for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
getting up in front of people and putting myself out there. I mean, again, this whole almost year now, once we get to March, of not really. Look, I did it once.
Yeah.
I did it once with you in July when this curve was flat.
Yeah.
And we were locked down, and people were being responsible, or at least more considerate, and we did have a hold on things.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, Yeah, I haven't been back out there,
Hmm.
because I mean, um, quite honestly, I mean, I'm trying to, again, be as cautious as possible.
Hmm.
That's why it's got to be like I do actually have a gig on New Year's Eve,
Oh,
outside
okay.
at Johnny McCracken's. Yeah, but it's outside,
Okay.
and I'm playing drums, so I'll be outside by the fire playing some drums,
Is that
and unless some kind of curfew is put on stuff between now and then, because
right?
things are
It's day by
spiraling out of
day.
control. Yeah.
Yeah, it's day by day. Things are changing day by day. So, but that's good to know. So New Year's Eve, you're going to be playing at Johnny McCracken's in Marietta, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
With well, I guess it's the members of Fuggum. You ever heard of Huey and Chris Kelly, Huey Hester?
I'm not sure. No, I'm not
Um,
sure.
they're good dudes. They got a couple of
What's it?
bands, 808, and they play with Marietta a lot. They play with McCracken's a lot.
Okay.
Um, uh, Huey does OHOP with Sean Bulow,
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Sean's a
so
great guy.
this is one of Huey's other projects, and they asked me to fill in on occasion, and
Okay.
happens to be on New
When are you
Year's
going to
Eve.
be
So,
doing that? What time?
huh?
I said, what
Well,
time are you going to be doing that?
well, I mean, at the moment, it's going to be like 9 to 1. I mean, so we'll
Okay.
play a few sets,
So you're playing
some
into.
covers.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I
Cool.
mean, unless something changes, because I mean, dude, this is weird, man. Um,
No question about it. But
yeah.
I'm happy to hear you got a gig. It sounds like it's going to be a safe place. That's a
Well, I
cool
hope. Yeah, I
venue.
mean, again, it's
So.
outside. I mean, that's one of my requirements.
Hmm.
But for the most part, I mean, I'm trying just to, unless it's necessary, I'm just trying to stay in as much as I can to be respect. I mean, look, I think we're as far as time wise, I think we're reaching the hump to where we're going to start getting closer to, maybe by mid year next year we'll be like back to normal. I hope all these places survive, though.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's going to be hard to. Yeah, I've seen a few places go under. I mean,
Well,
we all
especially
have, unfortunately.
especially music only venues like
Yeah,
Gypsy Rose. You know, that was a music only venue that was
that's a cool place.
unfortunately, it was a great place. It's just that
Yeah,
it just well, I didn't think it was going to survive this. This was tough.
yeah, it's going to be tough, but hopefully, Speaking of which, we're sponsored. I should bring up Charlton's and Narragansett. I haven't said anything about those yet. My apologies, but yeah, Charlton's. Matt has played at Charlton's before, Charlton's Grill and Tap in Johns Creek, and hopefully we'll be having him play with us again in the future once things get, a little safer and everything out there. Narragansett is our sponsor, Narragansett Beer. You check them out; they're really delicious and good company. Looks like you're getting your guitar ready, so I guess we're going to get a treat.
I might play a little song if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, whatever you want to play.
All right, let's see. Let's play. I'll play one of my newer tunes. Dream isn't over. Forward is where we go. Young generation will have to bear the load. Bear the load. When will tomorrow be there today? Somehow break out the sorrow, lead us out loud what you know. Communication. Break through the wall of hope. Wall of hope. When will tomorrow be there today somehow? Break out the sorrow, lead us to all we are. Listen and follow what's in your head right now. Won't leave you hollow when you find all we are. All we are. All we are. All right, thanks, dude.
I love this song. That's a great
Thanks,
song.
Thank you.
When did you write that?
This one was written probably like 3 months ago.
Okay. Do you know what inspired that?
You know, not really. Usually when I start off writing lyrics, like what I'm doing right now to this new song, it's usually how the melody shapes is the most important thing. So the words kind of have to follow with what makes sense.
Okay.
One of my biggest, one of the things I don't like about songwriting, and some of the things of bands I love, I don't like forcing lyrics into a melody, because it's important for the story.
Okay.
So I'll either figure something else out, because one of the things I love about songwriting is that you don't have to. There's no rules. You don't have to be grammatically correct, which is great. I love that. You can do whatever you want. You can do a Yoda line to where it's backwards. Okay, people, you can, because you can.
Yeah. Music, yeah.
So I do that. I make sure it works, and I make sure it flows. So a lot of times, the song is vaguely about something, but a lot of the lines in it are there because they fit with the melody and make the flow continue versus trying to, but then again, see, those are the songs that people tell me that means the most to them, or that they, oh man, I love the lyrics of that one.
Really?
And it's like, sometimes they don't mean anything. And it's like, they're like, okay, but it means something to them. So that's why I'm always been I'm not a storyteller songwriter. I'm a very vague songwriter. The words are, they mean something sometimes to me, but I never tell anybody what that is, because I'm more interested in what it means to you. And I find that it means different things to different people, which is great. So especially if somebody can, because that's very flattering when somebody says that, even though it might be a song that I know didn't really have much meaning behind it. It just, the words all worked out, and they go, wow, I love I love the lyrics of that song. And it's like, so it obviously meant something to them. And that's very flattering to me, because, it did. And that's actually kind of overall the idea to me. It's just like, if it means something, I'd rather it mean something to you than me tell you what it is. Or in that respect, it again be too storyteller in their songwriting.
I got you. Have you ever tried writing a song that's like very specific story kind of? Have you?
Well, I have been. Again, they're still in my. They're still in my wheelhouse. I still do them my way. I still do them vague. So, for example, this one here, this song right here is called "Took a Ray from the Sun."
Okay.
And this was it was about 4 or 5 years now, 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah, that must be about 5 years ago now. I worked I was in a single family property management company, and it was a big one, like a really big one. They had like 9,000 houses throughout Atlanta, and so there was there was 25 of us as far as managers, and so there's a lot of people, and it was the first corporate job that I ever had to where I got close with a lot of people that worked there. And there was this young lady, and I say that because I'm still an old man, and she was certainly young, but she wasn't married or engaged when I first started working there, and we became friends. But I exposed everybody that I knew to my music, and they all liked it. And at one point, she was like, "Well, when he finally does ask me to marry him," she goes, "I want you to write a song for my wedding." And people say shit like that. Well, people say shit like that all the time. People said that to you too. Oh,
You're a songwriter, yeah.
Yeah, Jason, I want you to write me a song. And you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And they never follow up with you or ask. Really. So, 6, 7, 8 months pass, and she actually gets engaged.
No kidding. Wow.
And then she comes up to me and she goes, "Okay, so are you going to want to sing your song during the service at the church, or you want to sing it at the reception?" And I was like, "Oh, you were serious? You want me to write a song for you?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm getting married." Yeah, he finally asked, and I told you I want you to write a song. So yeah, please write a song. Okay. So this is one of my first songs that had a absolute purpose that, but again, it's in my way, but it has her in it. And how I wrote it though is, so this is my version of a wedding song, but I wrote it from the perspective of telling him, how lucky he is that, because I always called her, a ray of sunshine. So that's why the song is called "Took a Ray from the Sun," so that he stole a ray from the sun. So, but this is that song. So this is that, so I can play a little bit for you here.
Yeah. Thanks.
Not much in life is gold. You're lucky if you hold a place outside the cold. It's all right now that you're home. Yeah. And the days go, took a ray from the sun. Well, something borrowed, something new. You get lost in eyes of blue. Bright skies went in the road. When she leaves, it's much too soon. Yeah. And the days go, took away from the sun. And the days go, took away from the sun. Count your blessings every day. Never let her slip away. head it always plays. Oh, back the memories of this day, yeah. When the days come, took away from the sun. When the days come, took away from the sun. From the sun, took away from the sun. From the sun. Well, thank you,
Beautiful.
dude.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, so that was one of the earlier songs that I, that like, okay, here's a specific purpose, a specific person that it's also about. So
it's a really beautiful song, and the story makes it even more beautiful, I think.
well, thanks,
I think
man.
that's yeah. I really enjoy your music, Matt, and that's another one of your songs that I really enjoy. We're here with Matt Urbanek. You can check him out on Reverb Nation and SoundCloud. The best places to find Matt's music. And also, he's going to be playing New Year's at Johnny McCracken's, so you can check that out. And in the upcoming year, you'll be playing more out as we get a solution to this virus and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Matt, you want to play another song to finish this out?
No, that was good, man. I mean, I appreciate this, dude. This was a good time. I always love talking to you. Miss you very much.
Miss you too.
Yeah, man. We need to get through all this so we can start. Because again, I hope this doesn't change fundamentally our society. Because what one of the things I think that kind of why we really hit it off is that we're very similar in a lot of ways, especially of just how we treat people and how we love people and how we and I'm a very tactile person, so I hug a lot. Because my philosophy in life is that, man, it's these kind of things, it's these kind of relationships that this is what life is.
Yeah.
To go back around the circle what we started with about what is the purpose of humans on this planet. Well, I think that if nothing else, I know that is real, and I try to live my life that way, and I think you do too, in that sense that it's just about love, and just try to be the best person you can to get through this craziness. Not pre-COVID, no COVID, just life in general, and I hope we can get back to that, and I can be still who I am and be able to be around the people I love, because I mean that's truly what gets me, and that's the thing that I think has been the hardest during all this time, has been the isolation from all the people I love. I mean, I'm ready to get back out there, dude. I miss you, dude.
I know you feel. I love you, brother. Thank you very much
too,
for
man.
giving us your time and giving us your talents this morning. We love everybody. Thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful day. And we'll be with you. We'll be with you in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, man.